Okay, so how powerful was that? I got to say, I feel truly blessed to have the opportunity to be connected with such sources of information and wisdom. And, there's a lot of zeros behind Fred's name, but I think what truly I love so much about his passion for learning, and of course, teachers and background, and his 94-year-old mom being a teacher, and his family growing very modest, but it was always about learning and continuous learning. And so that is really the key to success, is building relationships and continuously learning and paying it forward. So if there's any nuggets we can share, I would love to hear your feedback, how you enjoyed that. And I can see Tracy, unstoppable Tracy. How are you? She is waiting in the room. Tracy.
Very excited to be joining you all, and what an honor to be right after Fred Fishback. Holy cow.
Well, I told him, I said, Tracy she won't be able to see this because she's going to be in the green room and she's not going to be in the audience, but I'm going to fill her in that. And he says, what an honor it would be to like open up for Tracy. So I said, I'm going to share that with you. So he thought that was really awesome. Of course, you were at the Billionaire Beach House as well, and you have a great relationship with Fred. So Tracy, this is the end of Day 2 Success Summit.
Unbelievable. What an unstoppable group of people. Wow. Just hanging in there, refueling and reinventing. It's incredible.
And I have got to say, I think I'm gonna be on this huge, and I call this at the end of all my live events, I'm like on this adrenaline hangover. Like literally, I'm like, I feel the same thing. So it's kind of different because I don't know what the audience reaction is. I have no idea. It's just you and me here. I'm not even realizing that there's hundreds of people watching, right? So, but I feel so incredibly grateful for the opportunities that we have to share, as Fred said, our human currency, share our brilliance and our experiences to lift those around us up. And of course, the reason and the purpose, as you and I both know, COVID made an impact to female entrepreneurs. You're a female entrepreneur, you're a speaker, you travel the world. Tracy, before we get into it, how has COVID impacted you as a speaker? Come on, let's talk about it. I haven't asked the speakers this directly, but I wanted to ask you, how has that impacted you? Because your livelihood depends on speaking on stages, inspiring people, motivating speakers.
Yes.
You are a best-selling author. And can I go through this before we get into it? Your book? I'm going to go into it. TV host Unstoppable Tracy is the expert in disarming limiting beliefs. You've been seen on Oprah magazine, and I did upgrade this, 100 million viral views. Like, I couldn't believe that number. I'm like 100 million.
Yes.
That's freaking incredible. #1 international award-winning business leader and speaker to the stars. On TEDx, seen in over 40 countries, impacted over 160 countries. And you have your MBA, decorated athlete as a World Cup sailor. And I know the story. It's a very cool story. First and 4-way amputee who has climbed the Himalaya mountains. You know what? Do you want to do that again? Because I'd really love to do that. Do you want to do that with me?
In a heartbeat.
Okay, let's plan for that. And I need your guidance. So, best-selling author, and your foreword is written by a cup of soup soul, and this year Canadians Hall of Fame inductee as an honored humanitarian. I just actually saw you a couple nights ago on TV, actually, for the commercial that you did with Rick Hansen, and I'm like, I always feel so proud when I see you on TV, and I see you like, from the story that you and I had shared, where you were that, and no, I'm not going to ruin it. Everybody, I'm going to exit the stage now, and you're going to talk about it. literally love you so much and I'm super excited. But before we dig into this, I want to know how COVID has impacted you, because I want them to know how much time you're taking out to share your wisdom with everybody today. You're a sought after speaker. So how has this impacted you now that COVID hit?
Well, in March, there were, 24 stages of multiple thousands of dollars. And I was very excited and ready for bigger and better. Right before COVID, I bought a new car. I rented a very schwanky condo in High Park. I got a new couch. I got a new bed. I got all these very big, brilliant, successful, moving on in life, ready for the new version of the super successful, I can count on it no matter what, right before COVID. And so have a very expensive monthly, because everything you pay monthly, and they all stopped. And so there was a quiet 4 weeks or so, or reinventing and webinars. And I had 20 countries in 2019, 20 cities in 2020 up already before COVID hit. And that's Europe and North America, like all over. So I hadn't really put time into online content. And I'm one of those rare cats. A lot of people speak to be able to celebrate coaching and talk about their webinars and their other programs. And as much as they'd love to be a platform speaker, only 1% of the speaking world actually get to make a career at being a platform speaker, like a Tony Robbins or a Mel Robbins.
Or an unstoppable Tracy.
Or unstoppable Tracy. I'm so blessed that I got to be that 1%. So that was full on. But what's also wonderful is a lot of people are just rebooking the webinar and they're keeping their engagement. They've changed the date, but now they're still going to pay me, and we're just doing it virtual. And a lot of folks reaching out because wanting well-being and wanting to exceed that uncertainty and get through it with their teams in heartbreak. So I've had 3 sessions today already. So it's every day is, instead of being in 3 cities in a day, now I'm just virtual 3 times a day.
Well, I have to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. You have the stage, Tracy. It's 12:35. We're tight on time, but you know what? You have the stage, my dear. Our round table starts at 3. We've just jammed every single second, so I'm going to exit the stage. You have the stage, my dear, and I'm grateful to you for sharing your wisdom with these folks here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica, and thank you all for joining. I'm going to share my screen now. Oh, Hostess disabled screen sharing, so I can do with or without PowerPoints. So if they wanted to, I'm going to try again just to see. No, they've kept it disabled. Okay, then we will skip the PowerPoint version unless somebody texts me a moment to be able to. Because I'm a 4-way amputee, I wanted to show you a quick little few pictures so that you could see what you can't see in this screen right now. And all of us are told no, right? All of us are faced with, well, that's for men, or you're too tall, or you're too small. Or whether it's right now, we have the Black Lives Matter going on. So whether you're black or white, tall or small, with a disability, without a disability, all of us, especially as women, have felt that difference about promotion in the man's world. And so think of yourself in a no, or an uncertainty, or maybe when you're underestimating yourself, you're like, oh, well, I don't have an MBA, or I haven't been in a corporate world, or I haven't supervised staff, or I'm not sure the value that I have. Think of those uncertainties that you have, or some other human being has projected onto you in my story. My first biggest no was at 5 years old. I was at the door of the school all summer. My mom said, I get to go to school today. And the principal, he took one look at me without my hands and without my legs in the 70s and said, I'm sorry, Tracy can't go to this school. And many of you probably want to be like, what? I'll defend you. I'll get you in that school right now because you are the unstoppable souls that would stand for me. But what my mom did in that moment was she still kept a smile. She didn't get all mama bear angry. She had open arms and she looked at him and she just said, "How come?" in a friendly way. And she didn't say why, because why is a trigger word, puts people on defense. She happened to say, "How come?" And he explained, Tracy, without her hands, she's not going to be able to tie her shoelace. And there's one teacher at recess time, and there's 35-year-olds. She's not going to be able to support Tracy. Or Tracy without her legs. She probably needs to get support for going to the washroom. And again, she's one teacher and 30 kids. She's not going to be able to time out for Tracy. So my mom says, I completely understand. Totally makes sense. She said, can you give me till Friday to try to find a school that's more suited for Tracy? He says, yes. But as long as you know on Friday, she'll need to go to that other school. And I found out a bazillion years later that because of seeing us, one of the reasons he said yes, because we were there that day, since we're here, can we just try, was that he wanted my mom and me to see that he wasn't being a mean guy. It's just we weren't set up for success. He was expecting failure to prove it wouldn't work. So my mom said, thank you very much. Yes, on Friday, we'll go to the other school. But since we're here, I'm very grateful. And she looked at me on the ground, 5 years old, I'm a little short. And just like she was eye to eye with the principal, she drops to her knees in front of everybody because I'm short 5-year-old. And she grabs my arms, right? And she's doing the fingerprints. You can just imagine, right? Holding on to that little 5-year-old. And I can feel it right now. I can actually, it's like a pain flashback. And she wasn't angry, just the tension of knowing if I didn't make it outside for recess, I wouldn't be able to stay at that school. And so she drops to her knees in front of the whole school. And I'm 5 years old and I'm thinking, what is my mom doing on her knees on the front steps? And she's holding on to me and she says, Tracy, it's really important that you and everybody's included. Nobody left behind, including you. Well, I'm 5 years old. I have no idea why my mom is so intense. I just say, okay. And I look up at the principal and his eyes are all watery and welled up. And so now he's feeling like, I don't want to send Tracy home on Friday. So fast forward, like all of you in this group, all of you are getting ready to propel forward with all of your content the last 2 days, propelling forward. Fast forward to recess time. He runs outside to see if I'm there. Because if I'm outside at recess by myself, it means I can stay. And he doesn't have to send me home on Friday. I wasn't there. 5 minutes go by, 10 minutes go by, 15 minutes go by. I never made it outside. He's thinking, how am I going to face Tracy's mother? I got to find out what happened. The principal races inside and he finds the teacher. And he says, couldn't Tracy tie her shoelaces? What happened? And I see wonderful Monica joining me while I'm going to do the grand reveal. Are you joining in to say, I can do my slides? Brilliant. I was secretly hoping that. So before I do the grand reveal, I'm going to share my screen. How talented is she? Very creative in her problem solving. I'm going to go share And I'm going to go slideshow, and we're going to go from beginning, and we do super fast. Here's the opening slide. I'm going to go back to that. Scuba diving. We're going to face our uncertainties. We're all told no at times of life. I was 5 years old and the principal told me no. This is my mother, in the 70s. And you can see here without my hands or my legs when she was explaining to the principal how come. And so she counter-offered, can we just try? So the principal's looking for me all around the schoolyard, and I never made it. So he ran inside and he said, couldn't she tie her shoelaces? And the teacher was all confused. And she said, actually, Tracy was the first one with her shoelaces tied. What? I said, yeah. She said, well, how come she wasn't outside? I said, oh, well, one of the other kids couldn't tie their shoelace. So Tracy gave her a hand. It turns out none of the 30 kids could tie their shoelaces. I learned that day, in childhood, some of us learn like, oh, I'm pudgy, or, oh, I'm not smart, or I'm not tall enough, or that's for boys, or that's for girls. We get these unusual things that happen in kindergarten, grade 1, and we make a story in our head that's just about our age. What I got to learn that day was I learned that no, N-O, just means K-N-O-W. We just don't know. So whether I was 5 years old or now 50 years old, no just means we just don't know yet. My mom didn't say to that principal, she can tie her shoelaces. She said, how come? In a non-threatening way. And she heard him explain he was worried about being stuck with me. So when she counter-offered, she said, if it doesn't work out, no problem. She didn't say she can tie her shoelaces. When you're counter-offering, ladies, and you're figuring things out, we ask, how come? And the solution needs to be from the other person's listening because they just don't know yet. And so we went from no to K-N-O-W. I don't have a picture of me in kindergarten. This is a picture of me in grade 1. And you can see the only girl in the class with a homemade dress, my wonderful mother. I went from being unintentionally a little girl that wanted to play at recess to a shoelace leader. And it wasn't my choice, but I was so lucky. All of you joining us for these 2 days, you are the shoelace leaders. You are the ones that are ensuring nobody is left behind in your family, in the women's network, in your community, for your customers. I went from being a shoelace leader of 30 kindergarten kids to transformational leader nominated by and winning by John Maxwell in 160 countries. I ended up becoming a teacher and falling in love in developing countries. Here I'm teaching in Nepal and Uganda and Mexico, all in my 20s, 20 countries as a teacher. I went on as an adventurer to climb the Himalayas as the first 4-way amputee. This is actually a photograph in Ontario, Thunder Bay. But I went on, and I'll show you more later, to a World Cup sailor and a Paralympic trialist in skiing. There is a plan and a purpose for all of you joining today. All of you have, no matter what, unstoppable future. This is a picture taken in December before New Year's. For New Year's, what I did this year was my 100th dive 100 feet deep, getting my advanced scuba diving certification. And so I tested out my equipment in a swimming pool ahead of time. And it's a little bit of a secret. People are always like, what happened? What happened? And it's like, well, I was born limitless. I was born limitless. But the bigger secret. You are born limitless too. We are all born limitless. So 3 keys to an unstoppable you in bobsledding speed with these 2 days. I'm in the pink jacket and the yellow helmet, and there's three others around me. And I like to say, for the unstoppable version of you in 30 minutes or less, exceed uncertainty, embrace possibility, and earn independence with this Success Summit. Exceed uncertainty. You know, I was born this way. This is a picture. My sister is 11 months younger than me. And I was just a baby. I didn't know I wasn't supposed to hold a bottle with no hands. You see, I'm already holding a bottle at 1.5. Because I was born without my legs, as you can see just a little bit here, in this picture of the 80s, I'm afraid photo resolution wasn't very good. But you could just barely make out that I sail with my legs off. And so in this picture, every time some wind came or the boat heeled, because I had no legs and I'm top heavy, I'd fall out of that boat. What do you think I did? I can just almost imaginary hear you all shouting, "Got back in," because that's who you are, getting back in. And so that first summer, I spent all summer trying to figure out a way to get back in. And I actually failed that first summer. Every other student, everyone else able-bodied, everyone got their white sail level 1. And I knew the parts of the boat and I knew the points of sail, but I couldn't stay in the boat, which meant I couldn't pass. I exceeded uncertainty. Feeling uncertain is no excuse for inaction. If you feel like I don't have the education, or I don't know how to do a webinar, or I don't know how to do the social media, or I don't know how to have a breakthrough conversation with my teenagers, or I don't know how to convince the sponsors or the partners to invest in my Success Summit or my phenomenal business plan that I'm supporting their corporate people with. Exceed uncertainty. Feeling uncertain is no excuse for inaction. This picture is in Melbourne, Australia. There were 27 men on that start line, only 3 women. All 30 people had their hands and their legs. And I was missing my legs above knees and no hands. The only one. And they boycotted me. They said, "This is our Olympic trials. We don't want to congest that start line for a goodwill cause. We like you, but we're sorry, you can't be in the race." And it's a 1-class design. There was no excluding. It wasn't appropriate to disclude me. So they boycotted my boat. You can just see there's a blue pool noodle over my knees, and you can see some duct tape on the left side of my arm for a makeshift extension. It was too much money to fly my boat to Melbourne, Australia. So I tried to adapt a boat that I chartered in Melbourne. Well, they said it's not one design. So I pulled off the pool noodle and I tore off the duct tape, and I competed in an unadapted boat right alongside those 30 people. And even if I was 30th out of 30, I would have been 30th in the whole world against 27 men. But I didn't. I came 7th in the whole world. So if you're failing right now, like I failed my first summer sailing, exceed uncertainty. What happened the second summer is that once I figured out how to balance in the boat, it turns out I was just doing my advanced study backwards. I was learning how to get my head out of the boat and look at the water, get my head into balancing when it's heeling. These were all advanced study skills. All my friends got their level 2. My second summer, I got my white sail level 1, 2, 3, and 4. All because I had to learn a little deeper. And so failing or not succeeding as fast as you thought is all part of the journey. Exceed uncertainty. Feeling uncertain is no excuse for inaction. You might be feeling some doubt. I worked at Air Canada with a whole bunch of pilots that didn't look so different than this guy. Because they were striking, they were allowed to not shave. You can see he's got a bristly face, and some of you might be feeling doubt yourselves. If you're feeling doubt, as these pilots were, embrace possibility. Even though you don't know how. I didn't know how I was going to take on these pilots and help them through a pilot strike, and then a few years later help Canadian Airlines and Air Canada merge together after a big striking. Everybody was saying better dead than red, and then the next week the government is forcing them to work together, and now they have to work side by side. So this was part of my role as a facilitator in the airline world. Exceed uncertainty. Feeling uncertain is no excuse for inaction, but embrace possibility that even though you don't know how, you can do it. We had no idea how I would ski. I was sitting on a bench at the ski place, and sitting on a couch wasn't going to teach me skiing. Googling skiing for no hands, no legs didn't produce a lot of results at 11 years old. I had to jump in. Even though I didn't know how. You jump in, even though you don't know how your new reinvented business is going to be. You jump in. I ended up sitting on this bench next to a gentleman with gigantic feet. And my 11-year-old brain was a little bit inappropriate and was thinking, he's got huge feet. So big that my thighs, my stumps, could fit in his ski boots. And then I got a light bulb. My thighs could fit in his ski boots. When we tried it forwards, when we tried the sit ski, because I couldn't hold the outriggers with my hands, I kept face planting. When we tried the ski boots forwards, again, they were angled. Ski boots are angled. I kept face planting. So when we turned the ski boots around, I have no toes. It put me in a duck squat position, and it was perfect. I wasn't going to figure that out on a couch at home. Even though I didn't know how I would ski, you got to jump in and not avoid failure. Exceed uncertainty. Feeling uncertain is no excuse for inaction. And embrace possibility, even when you don't know how. You go for it. You don't avoid failure. But what stops people? When I worked at Shoppers Drug Mart, it was at the time when the government, the feds, had changed funding pharmaceuticals to not really funding pharmaceuticals anymore. They went from 75% funding to 25% funding. Well, at Shoppers Drug Mart, pharmaceuticals were 55% of our profits. 55%. And overnight, that is cut. Overnight, in 1 week, our balance sheet is in the red. And so as a facilitator, coming from Air Canada as sort of the no means KNOW, culture change agent, so proud to be awarded from the Women of Inspiration last year, Shoppers Drug Mart brought me in, and I asked, how come? To the frontline people, to the people engaged in doing the job. And it turns out what we needed to do was increase beauty items, increase baby items, increase convenient food items. And we outperformed the stock market in a month. These were not my ideas. These were the ideas of who I surrounded myself with and involving people. It was a beautician, frontline person that helps with the makeup. And it was her that said, there's 33% markup. How come we're not doing more with beauty? And she didn't have an MBA, but there was a lot of strategy people that had an MBA. And it was a frontline makeup artist that came up with the outperforming stock market idea. So we all have valuable contributions. What stops us is that fear. But that's not true of the people listening here today. I believe who's on this call today with all of us at this Success Summit for the last 2 days, I think you are all these little cats ready to take on those big cats of the world. And you can do it. And you are facing your fears and you are deciding to play with those big cats and jump in, even though you don't know how, and you want to play. Whoa! And sometimes those big cats get us. But can I tell you, anybody that's ever owned a kitten or a puppy, they just want to play. This kitten wanted to play with the big cat, and this kitten got to play with the big cat. And it looks scary, and it feels scary. But this kitten wasn't hurt. This kitten successfully played with the big cats, even before she was a big cat. That's what you do. You jump in and you embrace the possibility, even though you don't know how, and you get to play with those big cats. And you grow and learn how to play with those big cats till you are a big cat too. Embrace that possibility, even if you don't know how, and not avoid failure. Now, maybe you're not feeling very effective. I remember when I was supporting Uber busting into Canada. This is kind of how all those taxi drivers felt. They felt like Uber was going to take them over. And the reality was there was a big medallion system that went way back to the 70s. And the very expensive part of being a taxi driver was this antiquated medallion monopoly. But because of Uber coming in, it busted the monopoly. And so that very expensive part of being a taxi driver was eliminated. And so there was room for street hailing taxi drivers from the road, as well as Uber breaking into Canada. And so when you're not feeling effective, even though you're exceeding uncertainty, feeling uncertain, no excuse for inaction, or embracing the possibility, I can do it, even though I don't know how, who I'm going to surround myself, amazing skiers, or better yet, amazing Success Summit attendees like the phenomenal Monica and Fred, a billionaire, holy cow. You earn independence, not alone. You see me on this cliff. It looks like there's nobody left of me. There's nobody right of me. And I'm in my condo right now with nobody else. But I'm not here alone. I'm here with all of you. And Monica is my lifeline. You can see that little bit of rope there, my belay line, my safety line. Monica is my Earn Independence lifeline. Aunt Monica and this Success Summit and Universal Women's Network and the Women of Inspiration is your lifeline. We're not in this alone. We earn independence and we climb those summits better together. I went from Ontario and Thunder Bay to the Himalayas of Nepal, the largest mountains in the world. 3 keys to an unstoppable you. Exceed uncertainty. Feeling uncertain is no excuse for inaction. Believe you are capable. Embrace possibility, even though you don't know how. Don't avoid failure. Jump out of those airplanes. Go for it. Just be sure you know who packed your parachute. You know who packs my parachute? Monica, Universal Women's Network, and all of the ambassadors as a team are my parachute packers when I jump out of that airplane alone. And you might be still saying, seriously? You know, I've gone from somebody where people want to cry and pat me on the head as a 4-way amputee to now people say, well, that's you, Tracy. You're lucky enough to be an athlete and to be somebody that's unstoppable. We are all unstoppable because I could swim, just swim. I could learn how to sail. And because I could learn how to sail, I learned how to balance in a boat. And because I balanced in a boat, I learned how to teach. And because I learned how to teach, I taught around the world. And because I taught around the world, I ended up becoming a keynote speaker. And so all of you have skills to contribute. We earn independence, not alone. I'm riding this bike, not alone. Exceed uncertainty, embrace possibility, boycott the disruptions, and earn independence with Success Summit going forward. It doesn't end with these 2 days at bobsledding speed in 30 minutes. You can do this. We can do this. If I can do it as a 4-way amputee that grew up in affordable housing and now 100 million views in Oprah magazine, holy cow, I can't believe it myself sometimes. You can do it. This has been so fun. It doesn't have to be the last time we speak. You can reach me and we are here, the Universal Women's Network, through Monica, to support you going forward after today. I am Unstoppable Tracy everywhere, YouTube, my website, anywhere you like. Hello, Monica.
Hello, Tracy. You know, I have had the opportunity. We've had plenty of conversations as a 2019 Woman of Inspiration Change Agent, and very proud to have you as a Universal Women's Network National Ambassador. I have to say, I think we're going to bump you up to Global Ambassador with those 100 million views. That is still blowing me away. You are such a true inspiration. And I have got to say, throughout all of COVID, there has not been one moment that I have not seen you absolutely glow. You glow, you inspire, you radiate energy, you walk the talk, you lead by example. You live each day to the fullest.
With people like you as my lifeline, my friend.
Well, I got to take a picture because this is my memory bank, because by the time I get the list back, so let's do one of those. If you can give me one of those, I'm going to say, okay, ready? That was an absolute perfect ending to our Success Summit. And I am so blessed that we were able to package this content up for those that missed, that are still online, for the audience that we have out there, to the audience that signed up and had to go back to work and pivot, look after the families and the businesses. You will have the opportunity to see all of it, including the final keynote with Unstoppable Tracy. You're truly inspiring. I'm so happy to have you in our world, and thank you for, opening it up and really just loving and supporting women so much as you do. So I feel very grateful that we're going to continue the conversation for the round table as well. Anything that you want to send me, Tracy, we are packaging everything up for the Success Summit participants. So you guys, just if you want to take a bio break while we get settled, for those of you that are on the pass, this is the same link. So we are going to open up our room for our tables right away. But I want to say, what would help serve everybody? There was so much information shared. Tracy shared so many powerful messages. I would love to hear from you. I'm going to be sending out a survey, but I'd love you to share with me, what are your aha moments? What was the value? I want to hear from you. Honestly, I'm looking out, I see Tracy, that's all I see. I can't see the thousands of people that are in our audience today, which is so cool. So I welcome you to reach out and share your thoughts, and all the speakers that have stepped up, led by example, and wanted to be a part of our Success Summit to help and support female entrepreneurs and women in business to launch, rebuild, and recover. So thank you everyone for joining. If you want to have a quick bio break, I also remind you, Woman of Inspiration nominations are open until the 30th of June. And if you've been nominated, get those packages in. Okay, we can't celebrate women enough. I think you've heard it over and over again. Raise the profiles of women, value them, celebrate them, and